Hello, friends and neighbors. Welcome to episode 8 of Ray and Benny Talk Sports. We're here at the secret underground studio near the area formerly known as Wolseley. But don't worry, we have producer Grammy watching the front door. And of course, as always, we have the man who made driving a Hyundai Pony cool. Benny, how you doing, brother?
That's good. That's good. The Hyundai Pony.
Yeah.
Haven't thought about that car in a while. That was definitely a classic.
Yeah, I missed that right. We had some good lunch hours and lunch hour extended spares, lunch double spares. Kildonan Park to the Forks to Kildonan Park.
Yeah, a lot of times stuck in KP actually with that car too. Not the nicest of cars at all, but it got us there. I just remember
exactly
too. The thing had a choke. The car had a choke that you had to pull out to start the car too. It's amazing to think how far back that is. That it needed a freaking choke. You had to pull it out, or the car wouldn't start. Unreal.
Kids out there, Google choke. Google what a choke is. We don't have time to go into that.
Yeah.
You staying warm, bro?
Yeah. Like we were saying earlier, today felt like one of those days, like it was the middle of January, like it felt really cold out there today. So yeah, hopefully it's supposed to warm up a bit. So hopefully we get back to a little bit normal temperatures.
Yeah, it's starting to turn though, man.
Yeah.
It's winter. I think we had our last week there. The weekend was pretty good weather. I laid low myself, watched all the sports, watched the Bombers play a little Madden. Got whooped online again by a child, trash talking me all the way through.
Yeah, you gotta stop doing that. Maybe it was my kid.
Yeah, man. Don't get me started. Let's talk about real sports. Don't get me started, man. Let's talk about real sports because CFL playoffs are coming. Yeah, man. Playoffs.
Finally.
Don't talk about playoffs. We're going to talk about playoffs because it is CFL playoff season. We're also going to talk about the NFL and that gong show of a season. We never have the answers usually, but especially now with this crazy season, we don't know what's up and what's down. So we're going to go into some NFL action in detail and try to figure out what's going down. And of course, we're going to talk about the NHL, what's going on in Vancouver, attendance issues across the league. And of course, let's start off with the Winnipeg Jets who played tonight. 3-0.
I think we got to start asking the question, what's going on in Winnipeg instead of what's going on in Vancouver right now?
Yeah, let's start off with that. What's going on in Winnipeg? I just got home late. I did not see the Columbus game, so you fill me in. What happened tonight in Columbus or against Columbus?
Yeah, it was just another one of those games where they struggled to put the puck in the net. Plenty of chances, plenty of shots. Control of the game, but they can't find a way to finish, and they're struggling right now. And I mean, they scored 1 goal against Edmonton, lost in a shootout. They scored 2 against Vancouver, and then 1 against Pittsburgh only, and now none tonight. So you're not going to win too many games when you score 4 goals in 4 games. And right now they're struggling. Their power play is struggling. It struggled again tonight to really generate much. Not even the scoring, just to keep the puck in Columbus's zone over the course of their power play. They struggled to do that.
Really?
And it looked more like, they were trying for tips more than throwing the puck at the net. So it's like, let's throw the puck here to the middle of the net or to the front of the net and hope someone can tip it in. Start throwing at the net. Maybe you get a better tip that way. The power play again. I
saw them fall in love with that last year. Last year they fell in love with that. Kind of shoot towards the net. And it might hit something or somebody. So, I know what you're talking about.
They did it quite a bit tonight, and you got a question at this point, what is Riley Nash still doing on that power play? You got somebody other guy.
Well, he's a tip guy, right? He's a guy sitting his butt in front of the goalie and hope something goes off his body.
Can Lowry not do that?
That's his only purpose.
Can Lowry not do that?
You might not want to get... You might not want Lowry to take a puck to the wrist or the ankle or something like that.
Why not try Vesalainen? Why not try Svechnikov?
Yeah.
Those are big dudes.
Or just don't use that style of power play.
No.
Don't use that style of power play. Open it up.
Something's not working right now. I think they're 1 for 21, I think, over the course of whatever, their last 21 tries here. So something's got to change there. And they're giving up power play goals like crazy. They're either still second last in the penalty kill or they've let Vancouver pass them at this point. Who knows? And they're last, but they're giving up power play goals.
They were like 30th.
Yeah, Vancouver scored 2 power play goals against them the other night. Things aren't looking very rosy after that dominating win over the Oilers last Tuesday, or when we were on recording. They beat the Oilers soundly. they played better against the Oilers on Thursday, but couldn't score. Stuart Skinner stood on his head and made crazy saves, and then they lost in a shootout, which again, they couldn't score in the shootout again. And so that kind of highlights their point of maybe struggling to score goals, that they couldn't even do it in a breakaway contest.
Yeah, let me put this in there. The Jets have played 11 games in the past 22 days. They're playing once every 2 days. So their legs could be getting tired. But my problem with that is, why don't you play your fourth line more? Play your fourth line more when you're playing a game every 2 days, and make your fourth line better by maybe putting Wheeler down there. We talked about this, man, earlier on. Let Wheeler play on the fourth line. I could care less about his salary, bro. I want effectiveness. And with those 11 games in 22 days, you need to stretch out those minutes, and you need a decent fourth line. And, breaking up that line with Connor, Dubois, and Svechnikov. I talked about that last week too, how I was worried how that would affect the team. And look, it's clearly affected the team. Wheeler has no business being on the 2 or 1 line. You know what I'm saying? And even the 3 line, I talked about Harkins and Lowry and Vesline and how they were good together. And now we don't have really any lines that are feeling it. So that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like you took apart one of the lines that was doing well together in PLD, Connor and Svechnikov. Okay, fine. You took them apart. Today they were struggling again. He made some lineup changes. Why not put that back together? All he did was he switched. Who went on there? Ehlers was with PLD and Connor, and then it was Wheeler, Scheifele, and Kopp at one point. Why not go back to the one line that was working really good over a course of how many games that it kept clicking, right? They were dominating, and it'll help that Stastny started skating, so maybe Stastny will be back in the lineup sooner than later. So that'll definitely help, but that only means that they're probably bumping either Harkins or Vesalainen out of the lineup. Wheeler is going to continue to get his minutes, which is probably a little bit more than he should be. And like you said, Vesalainen played 6 minutes tonight. Toninato 8. Nash was a little bit higher just because he's getting the power play minutes, which I still don't understand. Like Riley Nash is playing 13 minutes. I know that most of that's or a lot of that is power play, but still, and Wheeler is again at 18 minutes tonight. So you got to start limiting the amount of time that Wheeler is maybe playing. Maybe not the fourth line. Probably not a good thing for the $8 million guy to be in the fourth line, but definitely you could slap him down on the third line, like you had said before, with Stastny and Lowry in the middle or something like that. But it's time to start looking. And there's so many teams that are using their young guys. Like Seth Jarvis from Carolina. They just let him play his 10th game of the season. But the Jets, don't give Cole Perfetti any shot really, or any of their young guys in the Moose. Bring someone in, get them to fire up this offense maybe a little bit, or see what they can do if it because it's struggling, right? So, I don't know. They got a lot of work to do, and tonight, it's disappointing because I know Dubois probably wanted to go into Columbus and win that game. They actually they had a video for him. They were booing him anytime he touched the puck tonight. Which is kind of understandable, the way he wanted to get out of there and stuff. But they had a video for him and Riley Nash, who played in Columbus, and they're booing. Right. They put the camera on Dubois after it was done, and they were booing him. And then they switched it over to Nash, and they started cheering him. So, pretty interesting situation. But not enough offense there tonight at all to get the W.
Yeah, no, you got to put that line 2 and 3 together.
Yeah,
and I get it. Yeah, I get it. The optics of having an $8 million guy on that fourth line. But, I don't know what goes behind closed doors and the conversations we're having, but put that pride away.
Yeah.
Put that pride away, bro, because he hasn't been effective on 1, 2, or 3.
No goals so far this year. And only 5 assists. At least last year when he was getting points on the power play, Maurice could say, well, he has this many points in 10 games or whatever, right?
Yeah.
He's not even getting that right now. The power play's not clicking. Wheeler's not getting his assists. And you got to give credit to Helly, man. He has played wicked over these last few games, and he has lost everyone. Even when Comrie played the other night, he played pretty well.
He did.
And the goaltenders are racking up these losses here, even though they're playing solid games.
Something's got to change. Something's got to change, and it seems to revolve around Wheeler and where he's at.
Or maybe the coach. Change the coach? No. Too soon?
No,
Yeah.
not at this point.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of pointless. Not quite yet. Not quite yet.
Are we getting there?
Let's come back from that. Let's come back from that stupid Olympic break that's going to ruin the season, and then we'll see what happens.
If they
If he
even
can't bring
go to
his team
if
together,
they even go to the Olympics, they still might not go.
I hope they don't. I hope they don't. What a stupid idea that is. Number one, it's an amateur sport event. These guys are millionaires and get to train all year, with the world-class training facilities. And number two, it's in China. What are you doing?
Yeah.
You're trying to generate revenue again that you've lost, and you're risking it by sending. Get out of here. What a stupid idea that is.
I agree with it.
Talk about COVID. Teams coming back. Arenas aren't quite as full as they used to be. Attendance is down across the league. Canadian teams are doing all right. Surprisingly, Vancouver is still about 92, 94% capacity. They're doing okay despite being a horrible team. But of course, you got teams like Ottawa who are doing horribly. And, it's become a political thing. People protesting not going to games because people are allowed. Thoughts on the not dwindling attendance, just the lower attendance across the league?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting because, like you say, it's a lot of these arenas are used to being full. Like Winnipeg's used to being full, 15,000 plus, selling out game after game ever since they came back. And right now they're sitting at 92% capacity. And yeah, you're going to have the COVID restrictions, having to be double vaxxed to get in there, having to wear a mask for the 3 hours. People eventually, they're not, obviously they're against getting the double vax, so they're not going to go to the games. But people with the masks, I was reading something today that they were trying to crack down on it because a lot of people were on camera without wearing masks and stuff, right? So they're actually, some people, are aggressive back, so they ended up kicking these people out or whatever. So, but even most of the Canadian teams, Montreal's still at 92%, but Edmonton is at 84% and Calgary is at 78% capacity. So those are some big hits, and, especially in Edmonton. You got the best player in the world there, and you're still not drawing a full crowd. But for a league that's gate driven, they played in empty arenas last year, obviously, right? So they took a pretty good hit. They lost, what was it, nearly 3.6 billion last year alone. So they're hoping to get some of that back this year. And when you're not filling up the stadiums, or sorry, the arenas, it's obviously going to be tough to recover that money, right? So fans are still leery. They haven't returned as much, but it could take a while before this goes back to normal, right? Obviously, we're still in this pandemic, so nothing's really changing there. But it was interesting because I read that a lot of fans actually gave up their season tickets but bought smaller packages instead. So instead of your 40 games, now, okay, I'll take a quarter season, or I'll take a 6-game package or something like that, right? Because people were finding it hard to sell those other tickets on the secondary market. And it's a big reason why we ended up stopping having Jet season tickets, right? There's a game you can't go to.
Absolutely.
All of a sudden you can't sell it. And now you're basically, throwing $200 out the window, right?
You're eating it.
Yeah. Which sucks.
And to add on to that, I you know what? Thank goodness. I enjoyed going to games, bro. I enjoyed hanging out with you and my dad and all that. But, looking back and me being self-employed contract worker and the income wasn't there, to slap that amount of money on season tickets, man, during the pandemic where I wasn't making as much money, it was actually a blessing. It was a blessing. And that's not just me. Fans across the league of lost income aren't making as much money, so they can't commit to these expensive prices, which aren't being reduced, by the way.
No, it's not
as far as I know.
No.
For sure in Winnipeg, they did not reduce the prices.
Not
That's
at
not
all.
going to happen. Yeah. And if anything, concessions probably went up because they're trying to get that revenue back.
Yeah.
I've not heard of any NHL teams doing 2-for-1s, come and enjoy it, come back. No, they know they got people hooked.
Well, actually,
and that's probably an issue too.
Speaking of deals, I just got an email from the Jets saying 2 tickets, 2 jerseys for $222. So
that's it. That's it.
That's actually a pretty good deal.
Where are the tickets at?
I don't know. The sale starts Friday, Black Friday sale. So you'd have to check it out there. But I'm assuming they're probably last row in the upper deck somewhere behind the net. I don't know. I can't see them being lower bowl or something, right? Or it's against a team that maybe like Arizona or something like that, right? That
for sure
is not close to selling out or something. So
exactly, tickets that won't sell. They're selling over inventory. So, thank you, Chipman,
Yeah.
and all. What a joke. What a joke. Talking about jokes. Sorry, that's pretty cold. I'm sorry, Vancouver fans. It was just a segue that was right there, and I just had grabbed onto it right away, and I shouldn't have. Let's talk about our friends in Vancouver and the tough time they're having there. Fans calling for complete front office changes. Do you think there should be a complete front office change? Are you down for firing the GM, or is it the coach? What's the issues in Vancouver, Benny?
Yeah, Jim Benning he's done a weird job since he's got in there. Some of his signings uh, have not been the greatest at all, and I'll just lead right to his defensive signings. Basically, signing Tyler Myers a couple years ago, giving him that I think it was 6 years, 6 million or something like that. The Oliver Ekman Larson trade, again taking on another big contract for a player again that was not the type of player that he was when he signed that contract. So he's going downward. So why make that trade for him? Then again, he went after another defenseman of the Jets, Tucker Poolman, and you know what? Tucker Poolman was probably a decent number 6D, making decent cash, but he went and gave him a big contract. So now you have those expectations on Poolman to be a better or to play better than what he can actually do. He's not a top four defenseman. He should not be in that top four. And looking at the rest of their D, they had Luke Shen, you have Travis Hammond. None of these guys have done anything very good over the last few years. So right there, you're starting your D off poorly. And it seemed to affect Thatcher Demko had a pretty decent year last year. But right now he's trending at 3 goals against above. And, his save percentage is around 900. And it was actually under 900 a week ago. So he ended up signing Elias Pettersson and Quinn Hughes to contracts this year. And right now, Pettersson is also not living up to that contract he had signed. So, that's another hit. And that, I wouldn't blame Benning totally on that one because, you're signing a player who's looked pretty good over the last few years and you're thinking he's going to come out and continue to do that. But he hasn't lived up to the expectations. And I think part of the problem was maybe they were hoping that the Pacific Division was going to be as bad as everyone thought and they would get some easy wins and contend for a playoff spot. But if that's how you're basing your season, that's trouble right there.
That's not a good plan.
Because the Sharks, the Kings, and the Ducks have come out better this season than most thought, especially now the Ducks. The Sharks and the Kings have kind of trailed off. Calgary's doing better than most thought, winning right now, and they're getting some great play from their goalie and Mangiapane and Tkachuk. So right now the Canucks, they need their players to step up, but I don't think they have the players to do it, and I don't know if Travis Green is the coach to take them there.
Yeah, I think it's the coach. Benning hasn't, like he said, hasn't had the best track record of moves, but I'll give him a little slack. When you're in a Canadian market, most likely you're going to overpay for free agents and other players. That's just the way it is with the Canadian dollars and the taxes they pay. We don't have the advantage of like Florida, Nevada, Texas, now Washington with Seattle, having no tax, having no state tax. And that's a big thing for professional athletes with short careers. They want to make as much money as they can. And so, even here in Winnipeg, we usually have to overpay for a free agent. So I get it, Benning, trying to take a gamble, trying to get some players locked in that he believes will be better. But I think it's a roster underperforming against a very uninspiring coach. The last game I watched, sorry, I did not watch a whole Canucks game. I can't. Last highlights I watched the Canucks. You see this Jim Benning looking up at the score clock, looking down and just shaking his head like he has no clue. Like these guys aren't even looking back to the coach to see what's going on. Just get rid of him. Get rid of him. I think that will definitely at least spark the team for a bit. And hopefully a better leader will get them playing better because I think they do have some decent players. Their roster does not reflect the record that they have right now, is what I believe. So I think keep Benning, find a new coach, and give him this year. And if not, then you got to blow it up. You got to blow it up.
I think at this point, the only way Benning probably saves his job is if he fires Green. And the team improves over the season. Then you can say, okay, it was Green, not Benning. But I don't think either of these guys survive this year at all. Even if Green gets held to the end of the year, chances are he's gone because they also, like you say, Bo Horvat is also, underperforming so far this year too. So
Yes, I
they
forgot
have
about
some
him.
guys that could be better, that have to start showing it.
Absolutely. Let's go to the NFL and let's talk about pretenders or contenders. And I know we talked about how much a gong show the NFL is this season, but let's look at a couple teams, and I want to hear your take on if they are pretenders or contenders. Let's start off with the Dallas Cowboys. Where do they rank on this for you? Pretender or contender?
You know what? If they'd come away in a game against Kansas City and showed what they can do, or at least competed in that game, I might have said, "Hey, they're contenders. They're still up there." To me, though, that was another dud performance by the Cowboys, and we've seen a couple of them over the last couple of weeks, against the Broncos, and then now the Chiefs. Yeah, they beat the Falcons last week by pretty handily, but that effort or that
The
display on
Falcons.
the Falcons, yes, that display on Sunday there against the Chiefs there was pretty weak. Maybe because the injuries, yes, they were missing two of their, they were missing Cooper and then Lamb went out at halftime. But even before Lamb went down there,
Yeah.
they weren't moving the ball very well. They weren't protecting Dak very well. So, and I know they were missing some linemen too. So maybe when they come back, maybe things will change. But they got a matchup tomorrow. We'll see what they can do in that one if they can get back on the right track.
Yeah, for me, I'm gonna say contender. I can say contender due, especially because they're in the NFC East. And I think if they go back to that running game, what are they doing? What is Mike McCarthy doing? Your friend Mike McCarthy.
Mike McCarthy
Trying
never
to air
he never liked to run though. He never likes running.
Like you have Ezekiel Elliott, who's not in best of form, but you also have Pollard, a good two-headed monster there. What are you doing? And you're supposed to have one of the best offensive lines in the league.
Yeah.
So I think they now with Cooper sitting this game and CD Lamb, you really got to commit to that game.
Lamb,
I think that
Lamb might be back actually, which is quite shocking, but he might be back.
Oy, oy, oy. Really? He's going to get through those protocols? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, glass in his house.
He's questionable, and I think he hit the 5th stage already of the protocol. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
If Jerry says you're good, you're good.
Oh, whatever Jerry says goes. What a joke. What a joke.
Yeah.
Let's about Indy. Indy, pretender or contender?
I'm gonna still list them as well as still pretenders. They've had a good run for sure. They've won 3 in a row here or whatever it is. But they're still struggling to get into that playoff position. Right now they're just on the outside looking in. They have a tough schedule coming out, and if they can get through that, then maybe I'll change my mind on that. But they have the Bucks, Pats, and Cardinals over their last 6 games. So, which starts this Sunday against the Bucks. So, hey, maybe if they come out and beat up on the Bucks this Sunday, maybe next week I'll change my mind on them. But I still don't have faith in Carson Wentz being able to carry them. And right now it's the Jonathan Taylor show there in Indy.
Yes.
5 TDs,
and that's why they are contenders. That's why they're contenders. The Bucks. I'm not believing the Bucks. They're going to beat the Bucks next week at home, and then they got the Texans, the Patriots. That'll be a good litmus test to see how real they are. And I'm almost off that. Cardinals did win this. I'm not going to talk about the Cardinals. I'm not going to talk about the Cardinals. But they also have the Raiders and the Jaguars. I think they're in a good position to go on a bit of a run. And their defense is coming back into form. Remember last year when their defense were like leading the league in points scored or something like that? And they had a great secondary. I think they're starting to tighten things up now. They're a very dangerous team. So I'll put contenders on those Indianapolis Colts. How about the Vikings? Lost my list there for a second. I have to scroll up. Vikings, contenders or pretenders?
Yeah, I'm going to go 3 for 3 on the pretenders list here as well. So
ooh.
They got a big matchup this weekend, against the San Francisco 49ers, who they're battling for that one of the last 2 playoff spots basically in the NFC there. So whoever wins that one is going to be a bit in the driver's seat. They look good against Green Bay offensively. Their defense still, struggled, but I guess it is Green Bay. So, I could see them. I could see them making the playoffs, but I don't see them going beyond that. I still don't think they're quite there yet. Kirk Cousins still. Dude can ball out, and then the dude just stinks sometimes. So, they got a couple of night games still, 3 night games primetime games.
Prime time.
You know how Kirk
Vikings on
Cousins
prime
is
time.
on prime time. So
Good. Yeah, yeah. I'm the same way. It's Kirk Cousins, and I don't believe in him.
no.
You know, I don't know what the stat was. We had like maybe a dozen or so fourth quarter comebacks and something like that. I'm like, Kirk Cousins? Really? But when I think of Kirk Cousins, I think of a guy who always collapses in important games
Yeah, he's got some wicked
against good
stats.
teams.
Yeah, he's got some wicked stats and some.
Garbage time.
But
Yeah.
he's also, I think, he has more 300-yard games or something like that than Rodgers or something, and all these things. And you're thinking, what? But like you say, he
Yeah.
face plants when you need him the most.
Nah, man. I might take Case Keenum before him in the playoffs because he's magic. You know, remember Case Keenum? Remember
Yeah.
Case Keenum?
Vikings fans might take him too.
Let's go back and talk about these Cowboys, because I love talking about the Cowboys so much. And that dud of a matchup with Kansas City. That was supposed to be a high-scoring matchup. Everyone said maybe 30, 40 points each. 19-9.
Yeah, having
19-9.
Dak on my fantasy football team, I was expecting fireworks on my counting up points. This is what I need to win. He's gonna help me get there. Nah, not even close, man. 3 field goals. He didn't even score a touchdown, man. 2 interceptions. I think even the last one, I'm like, just get me 1 touchdown. And then he gets down there and he throws one of the worst interceptions I've seen. There's no one even around. But it wasn't just him. Like, yeah, okay, KC's D stepped up, played well, but I mean, KC's D, they've had a couple good games here, but Dallas should have been able to take advantage of them, right? And even KC, Mahomes still didn't look great. You know, the guy had still, I don't know what it was, close to 40 attempts and almost 30 completions, and he was still under 300 yards. Usually Mahomes needs what?
Just dink and dunk.
15 to 20 completions, and he's over 300, 400 yards, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, a couple to Tyreek Hill, and you're up there.
Yeah, a couple of dink and dunks there. But, yeah, Dallas D stepped up. Mahomes was sacked 3 times. He did get an interception, but I blame that one more on Kelsey not being able to handle the pass. But it was a dud all around. Like, both offenses actually, you're expecting a game of fireworks. The Sunday nighter between the Steelers and the Chargers had more fireworks. Sorry to bring that one up.
Bring that up, eh? You really had to bring that up, man.
It was just a better game. But you know what? I was going against Eckler in fantasy football, so it wasn't that good for me there. But so watching Dak faceplant and then Eckler get 4 TDs was not fun.
Not a good day. Not a good day.
No.
Yeah, it was a dud of a game. Like we talked, the Cowboys just got to run the ball, man. That's their meat and potatoes. They got to run the ball. Stop being what you're not. People are going off about Dak Prescott and his over 100 rating. Like, give me a break. Give me a break. He's never been this great passing quarterback. He's a great athlete. And it doesn't seem like he can lean on that athleticism after coming back from that injury. He doesn't seem quite right. I don't know what it is. I can't look at film and be like, oh, it's his whatever knee or ankle, but he just doesn't seem like he used to be. And of course, he doesn't have Amari Cooper there.
Yeah.
This guy's going to miss 2 games now. Another unvaccinated player. Did you hear what Michael Irvin said about this guy?
No, well,
he is.
I saw Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones was pissed at him too.
Let me tell Michael Irvin. This is a quote. You go get vaccinated to try to mitigate it as best as you can. Now, you can still get it after you get the vaccine, but it's a different percentage chance of you getting it. And I need you to get that different percentage chance. I'm not so hot for Amari Cooper not being on that. He's talking about doing what it takes to win a championship, to win a chip. So if you got to have a guy like that in your locker room that's not committed to winning a chip like everyone else, come on.
Yeah,
come on. Same old Cowboys locker room, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, we talked about the Cowboys slipping. And, they got me. They got me the week after when they kicked someone's butt. But it's the Cowboys. Yeah, the Cowboys being the Cowboys, bro.
They kicked the Falcons' butt. That was about it.
Oh, there you go. The lovely Falcons, the lowly Falcons. Colts and Bills. What happened there? Everyone thought that Bills defense was, all about it. And Taylor ran for how many touchdowns?
5 TDs. Yeah.
Maybe we should put Bills and pretenders and contenders because they look pretenders, I think.
Well, that's the big question after this, right? Josh Allen, like this wasn't just one game. Josh Allen, he's looked bad in a few games, and the Bills have looked bad in a few games. They've lost to some teams that the Jaguars. They lost to them,
Oh,
9-6, and Josh Allen couldn't get anything going. The Bills have been good at beating up crappy teams.
yeah.
They've only won 2 of their last, I think, 4 or something like that, and it was the Dolphins and the Jets that they beat. They lost to the Titans, or sorry, after they beat the Chiefs. You're thinking, okay, they're
Mhm.
taking off. They're the
They're
team
back.
to beat in the AFC, right? They lose to the Titans. You're like, okay, not so bad. They go beat up the Dolphins, and you're thinking they're back on the right track. But then they go and lose to the Jaguars. Then they beat up on the Jets. Then they get blasted by the Colts. So,
Yeah.
they're all over the place. And Josh Allen, he hasn't been the same as Josh Allen as he was last year. Um, so
No, not at all.
you gotta wonder, is he as good as last year, or is he back to almost the first couple seasons where he was struggling, um, and not being able to complete or complete a lot of passes or anything like that? So there's a big question mark that's hovering over their heads right now, and they they let the Pats come and take over the division, and they still have 2
Oh, the
games against the
Pats.
Pats, which will end up
Yeah.
ultimately determining who takes that division.
Yeah. Lots of people are talking about the Pats now. Lots of people are jumping on that bandwagon. Let me remind you, people, 5 weeks ago, we said the Pats were coming back. We said that we could see this Belichick team coming around. And look what happened. So never mind telling us, oh, you should talk about the Pats. We talked about the Pats already. We saw that coming. Do you think that they're a contender, the Pats?
I don't know. We're gonna see. Like I said, they got the Titans coming up. They got a couple games against the Bills, and they got the Colts. Those are their next 4 games. So those are
Mm-hmm.
huge.
Yeah.
And since they lost to Tom Brady and the Bucks way back, they've only lost 1 of 7, and that was the close
Yeah.
one to the Dallas Cowboys, where Dak threw. It might have been OT, threw a touchdown, or just at the end of the game he threw a touchdown. So um, they haven't faced a lot of teams, or a lot of tough teams. I mean, in this stretch
Mm-hmm.
of wins. So they had the Chargers, they had the Browns. I don't know where you want to label the Browns at this point, but
Ugh.
so they haven't played a lot of good teams. So they
Yeah.
haven't shown that they can beat those good teams, and that's why this stretch of the next 4 games will show. The defense is dominant again. It's back to
Yes.
being a Belichick special, where that D is tough. And then the
Yeah.
O just has to do enough, not make mistakes, and just do enough to win, right? So and so far Mac, has done that. Um,
Yeah.
and, and-
Surpass that.
yeah, and exactly, yeah, he's done enough, and he's done more that he has to do it. When they need the points, he's gone downfield and scored them. So right now,
Exactly.
they're in the playoff mix for sure, and I obviously see them making the playoffs. Are they a contender? You know what? Ask me again in a couple weeks when they play some tough teams here, and we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. This 2021 season is crazy.
It
So,
is.
let me go crazy. Ravens are out. Patriots are in. That's
Oh
my team. I'm
boy.
going now. The Pats. The Ravens are out. Pats are in. Mark it. Producer Grimy, mark that on the calendar. Ray says Pats are in. Ravens out. Might as well.
The
Let's
Ravens
just
are
see what
probably saying
happens.
thank you. I picked the
Yeah,
Pats.
exactly. Eh? Just like the Titans.
Leave us alone.
They're like, thank goodness the Ray and Benny curse is over.
I don't.
Got you, Belichick.
I look at the Ravens 7-3 record, and I look at it and I go, I don't understand, because to me it seems like they're losing a lot of games more than they're actually winning. But I guess they've managed to pull out those victories when they need it. At the end of the
That
games, or
was
close to the end of the games, like against Chicago, against
yeah.
Detroit with a 66-yard field goal. So they're a surprising 7-3 when I look at that record.
They are. They just eked one last. They just eked one with that young guy last game. The Ravens, the AFC North. We're supposed to talk about the Steelers and the Bangles here, apparently. So, I'm a huge Steelers fan, and I'm just disappointed. They tied the Lions. Are you kidding me? 2 weeks ago, and then they lost by this touchdown to Mike Williams on the. I'm done, man. I am done. I'm not looking forward to this Bengals Steelers one. I hope I see the Bengals defense that have been there for the past 2-3 weeks, but I don't know, bro. I don't know. My heart's been broken too many times.
It's a big game up against the Bengals, because a loss may put one more nail in that coffin for the Steelers to be able to
Yeah.
come back in this race, right?
You have to say it like that, eh?
Yeah,
Ooh.
The funny thing is, I mean, you look at it and go, okay, they were missing a bunch of guys on D, TJ Watt, Fitzpatrick, against
Yeah.
the Chargers, right? Someone else out, I believe, too. But yeah, so that, the Chargers go in and hang up 41 on them, and you're thinking, well, maybe they would have done better with these guys. But yeah, like you said, they tied the Lions. I know it's Mason Rudolph at QB, but you still shouldn't
Oh,
tie
that
the
guy.
Lions. They barely
That's a
beat the
swear
Bears.
word.
They barely beat the Bears the week before, and the Browns the week before that, and the Seahawks. They've eked out victories. They've come out on the right end of some of these games. So this is a big one.
Yeah.
To me, if they can beat the Bengals, yeah, they still got a shot at the playoffs. If they don't, I am thinking they're heading out of the playoffs.
Yeah, we need that O line. The
Yeah,
O line has to perform. They've been when the Steelers lose, it's because they have a bad O line.
yeah,
It's understandable. They're young, 5 new guys. It's ridiculous. I hope Joe Burrow's stuck. Hope he's stuck in the mud somehow, and the Steelers can get it going. Because Ben has been playing actually pretty good.
yeah. I'm
He's been
surprised.
pretty good.
Yeah,
No picks, touchdowns. Just protect the guy.
yeah,
Give Najee Harris some holes, and you'll be fine.
yeah,
Like you said, they'll keep it close and they'll eke one out. They'll
yeah.
win it like the Steelers win it. They'll grind it out. But
Exactly.
without an O line, bro.
Yeah,
Oh
it
my
makes it
God!
tough. You can't. You got to give Ben some time.
Yeah. Let's talk about another favorite team of mine that's actually doing good. Let's talk the CFL. Let's talk the Bombers. Loss against Calgary. Not too concerned about that. What's really encouraging was Johnny Augustine.
Yeah,
There's kind of rumblings going on, unverified rumblings that Harris might be injured more than the Bombers are letting on. So it might be Oliveira and Augustine. And to be honest, I think Augustine should be the lead back. He's more athletic. He makes holes. Oliveira's great through the middle. He's a grinder, but I'm not too concerned if Harris is out, to be honest with you. I think they'll be okay, but we'll see in a couple weeks. If he doesn't come back, who should be the lead back?
yeah. I'm gonna agree there that it should be Augustine. I mean, 23 carries, 148 yards, in that game against Calgary. But it kind of puts you a little bit at ease if Harris can't make it back in there. But I would still take Harris way over Augustine, obviously, and I'm sure you would too. So we definitely
Yeah.
need Harris in there because he brings that other dimension that teams have to worry about. And it's hard to say on Augustine. Yeah, it was one good game. Can he do it again? And we're expecting it probably to be freaking cold on December 5th here in Winnipeg for that game. There's probably a chance of snow falling. Who knows? Or snow already on the ground. So you're going to need that running
Without
game,
a doubt.
to be top notch. And it's a little disappointing. I know a lot of backups that Winnipeg ended up blowing that game against Calgary, and hopefully it doesn't add any lingering effects going into the playoffs at all. But when they've been a dominant fourth quarter team all season and then they lose a game in the fourth quarter right at the end of the season, it gives you a bit of that fear, right? But yeah, they'll definitely need Harris. Hopefully Augustine, if Harris is not there, he can come in and carry the load and do what Harris could, partly what Harris can do, kind of thing.
Yeah. What was encouraging is watching Caleros come back in, play, put up 75 yards like it's nothing. They did not let Calgary pass center field until the second half.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, and that was with Calgary starters, right?
Yeah.
So
have their starters and our starters.
Yeah.
So that's encouraging. Encouraging. They're getting healthy. So I'm still on them. I'm not. There's no fear in this brother over here, man. There's no fear over here.
Oh no, I still think they. Yeah. I'm not saying it's over or anything like that. You're just hoping none of this stuff affects them psychologically, right? Because we've been used to dominating teams in the past, and I think we've mentioned it on this podcast, and they failed to deliver. So
don't.
So that's always in the back of the mind. That's always in the back of the mind.
I know, and you keep bringing it to the back of my mind. Keep it to yourself, bruh. Keep that to the back of your mind. Keep it in the outer reaches of your mind there.
Oh,
let's talk about some more rumbling in Bomber Nation. Your boy Strevy, the fur coat wearing, stogie smoking, laughing. Strevler has been released by the Cardinals. Too bad, obviously. As a player, you want to play in the NFL. You want to make that NFL money. So unfortunately, he was released. But, that's getting Bomber fans excited, even though, we only have a couple games left, maybe.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Chris Strevler?
Selfishly, I don't want anyone picking him up in the NFL, and I don't want him going to anyone's practice roster or anything, because I would love to see him back for the next couple games here in Canada and the CFL. I think he would bring a lot, like you say, if Harris is actually out, if Harris is hurt, and chances of him not returning, Stravler would add pretty good dimension to that run game, carrying that ball,
Mm-hmm.
pounding that ball on them. So, I doubt the offense has changed much since Lapolice left and Buck Pierce has taken over. So I think Stravler could probably step right in and do the stuff that he did a couple seasons ago in helping us win the Grey Cup.
I agree. It wouldn't be a bad thing to bring him back. He knows the system without a doubt. And Paul McGuire, what he had 8-9 rushing touchdowns. It's just not the same.
Yeah.
Chris Stravler had an exciting, different dynamic element that he brought when he came on the field. And it pumped up the whole team. He's just an energy. He brings energy to the whole team. So I would have no problem bringing Chris Stravler back, to be honest with you. Yeah. Will it happen? I don't know, man.
Yeah.
If I was him, I'd also wait for the end. I'll go on a practice roster for $8,000 a week. Yep. But we'll see.
That's the other thing. If he signs, he's a Bomber or a CFL player till February or something like that, right? Because that's how the contracts go, I believe, right? So, right. Unless they release him, I guess, after a couple weeks, but that's probably harder for him to get back to the NFL, anyways.
We'll see.
Love to have him back, though.
He's such a character.
Yeah.
And people dress up like him at games. He's amazing.
Yeah.
He is amazing. We talked about attendance, lowered attendance in the NFL and in NHL. And the same thing in the CFL. We've seen lowered attendance, obviously. With big crowds, people are a little hesitant. And we see how it really hit the Edmonton Elks. Sorry about that. The Edmonton Elks, we saw that hit them, especially with such a bad team. And them cleaning house. They were in the news. But in additional news, someone on the board tweeted about the diversity and what's wrong with the CFL, not just in their team, but across the league. He said, our demographics are brutal. They're disproportionately old, male, and white, which isn't representative of our community. That's been reported by Dave Naylor from Ian Murray, the chair of the board of the Edmonton Elks. So your thoughts on that, brother?
Yeah, I almost can't disagree with that, right? I mean, the majority of fans in the CFL are older, right? The CFL has struggled over the years to bring in younger fans, diverse fans. I mean, Canada, it's always changing Canada, right? I mean, there's different people coming from everywhere, and you kind of want to attract them to the game of football, but they're not. As you can see, even we struggle here half the time filling up the investor group field, right? So, but you figure, okay, man, there's so many people in Winnipeg. Why is it so hard to fill that up? But like you say, a lot of fans who are older, they're probably getting to the age where they can't travel to games all the time. So now they're staying at home. But there was never any really big push by the CFL to try and change that, diversity or anything with the fans and attract more younger fans as well. So I pretty much got to agree with what he said there.
Oh, yeah, he's 100% correct. They have failed on every level to get a younger audience and a more diversified audience. And the audience is there. Just obviously the effort isn't being made, especially in cities like Toronto. I'm going to get on Toronto again, bro. They are so diversified and they have such a huge population to work off of. They should be in the communities. They should be given. Remember back in the day when we went to high school, junior high, the Bombers gave away like 2-for-1 tickets to high school students to come and watch the games. So not only are you just getting people out, they're going out in groups. They're making it a culture thing. As we're going to go out as Bomber game as friends together, and we're going to do that and have fun.
Yeah.
So there's nothing I can argue. He's totally right. They got to find a young audience, just like NHL hockey actually has to diversify theirs, but they won't. They'll ignore it. That's a totally different subject for me to get started on. But yeah, the CFL absolutely has to go out in their communities and bring people to games. You got to spend money to make money. And that's what the CFL has to do.
Yeah.
Let's finish off the podcast with a little CFL segment. Mount Rushmore, greatest Canadian players in the CFL of the past 30 years. Did you have a hard time doing this like I did?
Yes, I did.
It was so tough, like, I don't know. Who do you got on your Mount Rushmore? And then we chat. Who do you have on yours?
So yeah, I mean, 30 years, past 30 years, it's a long time. Remembering the 90s and, who was playing and what they all did. So it took a little bit, but I'm going to have to go with Andrew Harris still playing, still got time to get some more yardage in there, but he'd be in my top 4 for sure. I'm going to go with another Bomber coach and Mike O'Shea, who is a very dominant linebacker, special teamer.
I like that.
Yeah. And then I'm going 2 wide receivers and Mike Morreale and Dave Sapungis.
Ooh, that's a good list. It's hard to argue that. I think we do have a good debate with Harris, and I'm going to take John Cornish.
Yeah.
I'm going to take, because Harris probably has without a doubt, statistically has the better career. But I think John Cornish was kind of that first Canadian running back to get that thing started again. Because we haven't had a dominant running back in the CFL since like Normie Kwong. And then John Cornish came in and he's like, oh, Canadians can actually be running backs. And he kind of started that Andrew Harris movement. So I'm going to say John Cornish. And I'm going to take a Bomber, Doug Brown. What a dominant defensive lineman he was. Had such a great career. Probably the most dominant Canadian defensive lineman in the history of the game, I would say. Top 3 without a doubt. And like you, I'm going to go old school with Ray Elgard. He finished his career in 93, 94, somewhere around there. One of the best. He was such a big guy in the middle of the field. And I'm going to go with a little guy in the middle of the field with Ben Cahoon on Montreal. As much as I watched him kill the Bombers, much respect to him.
God. Listen to the radio.
Much respect to him.
Listen to Bob Irving on the radio, and every time it was a completed pass, it felt like it was to Ben Cahoon. Good God, did he destroy us.
And you picked Mike O'Shea. There's Sapungis, Kevin Ivan, Scott, offensive linemen. We're the offensive linemen. Scott Flory, Gene Mikowski, Chris Walby.
Walby was past the 30 years, or no, I guess he would have played in 90. So
no, he played in 96, I think. Remember that game?
Did he go that far?
Semifinal?
Crap. Yeah,
that was his last season, I think. He might have played one more without Cal Murphy.
Right.
I think he might have played one with Reinbold. But yeah, that was a bad one, that 96 playoffs. Hey, let's talk about the playoffs before we leave. Semifinal predictions in the CFL. Who do you got?
I'm going to go in East, Hamilton over Montreal.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm going to pick Saskatchewan over Calgary, although I don't like either of those teams, so I guess either way I would have picked, but I'm going Saskatchewan over Calgary. And we're going to have a rematch in the final.
Oh, gosh.
With that doink heard around the world, or just in Saskatchewan.
That was great. I can watch that over and over again, just as much as I can watch that 13th man play. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Paul Lapalisse still throwing his hat.
Great play.
Anyway, I'm going to take Hamilton with their experience. The last Grey Cup, they're starting to come together and look hungry. And I'm going to take Calgary because I like how their defense is really coming together at the end of the season. We're getting clock watched by producer Grammy. It's time to wrap things up, Benny. You have anything to say to the people?
Yeah, I just got to say one thing before we leave. Congrats to Canadian men's soccer on their big win over Mexico last week. Huge win.
Yes.
Big 2-1 win in Edmonton there. So got to give them a shout out for that game and that effort.
Excellent. And the words. Yeah, sorry.
And other than that, have a good week.
Sorry, I cut you off, bro. What else you got to say to the people? What else you got to say to people? Say it straight.
Nah, I got nothing else to say to them.
Wow. And in the words of Marshawn Lynch, thanks for asking about my stomach. I appreciate it. Hey, friends and neighbors, don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Twitter, both at Ray Benny Sports. Follow us, like us, send us some comments, tell us what you think.